what we're going to do today is fly the route Liverpool Echo Golf Golf Papa to Cork Echo India Charlie Kilo. We're going to do it in Sky Vector, and then we're going to use SimBrief, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about Navigraph charts. Okay, and this is just the flight planning section. We'll do the flight in a bit. Okay, so in Sky Vector we've got three tabs at the top here: World High, World Low, World VFR. VFR is more of a map. You zoom in, you can see a few contours, cities. You can see major airports, which are the green, which are the coloured blobs, I should say. And you've also got smaller airfields. For instance, this one here is Welshpool. And if I just zoom out a sec, you can see the green blobs here. These are airports, and the green denotes that the weather is good. Okay, but as we go a bit further north, the weather looks to be not quite so good. Red means that it's IFR conditions, in other words, not very good for looking out the window type flying. And pink certainly is nearly unflyable. Okay, so it's probably fog around there. If you put your cursor over these blobs, you get the weather. Okay, you get the information to do with that airfield. So you get the name and you get the ICAO code. There's Newcastle Echo Golf November Tango. If we scroll in a bit, we can see Liverpool. Oops, there's Liverpool Echo Golf Golf Papa. We've got the weather, the current weather, and also the TAF, the terminal area forecast. And for a fixed period of time, that's the forecast. Usually quite accurate. Okay, and TAFs vary in the period of validity. Okay, but it will tell you on there what the period it covers. This one, for instance, is the 14th through to the 15th of August. Okay, so what we do is we right click on the airport we want to go from, right click and do plan Liverpool, go down to Cork, right click, plan Cork, and it adds a great circle route to it. It's why it's slightly curved. Okay, remember I spoke about why straight lines between one place and another are curved. It's because we're in a spherical world, and that's actually a straight line, but it appears as a slight curve. So we then add a few waypoints. So I'm going to quickly talk about World Low. World Low are airways that go from VORs. For instance, all these lines here are airways. There's a VOR right in the middle of it, and it is Dublin. There's the frequency. Okay, so low airways go from VOR to VOR to VOR to VOR. Okay, they've got waypoints, of course, but that's where they start and end. And then we've got World High, and these look at intersections. So again, lots of airways, and they go from intersection to intersection to intersection to waypoint, and so on. Okay, so from Liverpool, our first waypoint, I think, was Semu, which is here. Drag the magenta line onto Semu, drop it, and then say plan Semu. There we go, it's added Semu into the flight plan. The next one was Pesit, and Pesit is here. So we'll just drag the magenta line onto it, let go, plan Pesit. And then the next one, I think we did Nexat last time, but that was for the wrong runway. We'll use the right runway today. So the next flight plan we're going to use, waypoint, is Tismo, which is actually the start of the STAR, the standard arrival into Dublin, one of the standard arrivals into Dublin. So drag the magenta line onto Tismo, let go, plan Tismo, and what happens now is that it says, oh, you're going to Cork from Tismo, this is the approach that you need. This is not the approach, sorry, this is the star that you need, the Tismo 1 Romeo. Okay, quite handy, quite nice of it. And then we've got this longish leg here, this leg from Pesit to Tismo is 85 nautical miles. There's no real problem with that. You get legs that are hundreds of miles long. Okay, but let's, I like it when the aircraft turns, so let's just add one more. This is a place called Waterford. I'm going to drag the magenta line onto Waterford, let go, and it says, oh, there's a an NDB beacon, Whiskey Tango Delta. We can use that, so we're going to add Waterford. There we go. So Waterford's in, and there's our route. Okay, done in Sky Vector. And if we click on World VFR, there it is in a context that might be a bit more familiar. Okay. So what we do now is we highlight all this, do right-click, copy, or Control-C on the keyboard. Control-C is copy, Control-V is paste. So right-click, copy. Let's go to SimBrief. Let's go to Dispatch System. Then we do New Flight. New Flight is here or here, same thing. Then we put the departure ICAO in, Echo Golf Golf Papa, and then we go to arrival, Echo India Charlie Kilo, and then we tell it what aircraft we want to fly. And it's the 737-600. There it is. Okay, scroll down, and it tells us here in the optional entries the runways. Okay, so first thing I've noticed is that the departure is 09, which is what we want. And the arrival runway is offering us 34, but we came in on 16 yesterday, so we're going to carry on with that. 16. I think you had 17 on yours, or 15. I can't remember. And it's saying, do you want to choose new SIDS and stars? So we do yes, that's fine. But we're not actually going to use this route anyway, because we're going to highlight the bottom. Well, actually, you can highlight any of these, 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to use the bottom one, highlight all of that route, right click and paste, and we put our route in, press analyze, and it says the route is valid. So we scroll to the top. We're happy with that. We can look at the map. There it is. Okay, and we can do save flight and close, and generate flight and close. Okay, and once we got the briefing package, we can see our block fuel, our zero fuel weight, 46,845. That would be 46.9. Block fuel is 4,728. So you could round that down really, or round it up, either. Down here we've got the briefing document, which is all very complex and long. It tells us all the reserves and the fuel and the waypoints and weather, all sorts of stuff, which is very exciting. And if we scroll further down, these are all the flight plans you can download individually. You can get the PMDG one here, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to scroll back to the top. We're going to find our SimBrief downloader and scroll up and down the list until you see PMDG, and we're going to download that. Now I've already got these in there, so it should say, do you want to overwrite them? No, it hasn't. Fair enough. And export this one. Okay, hopefully they're correct, but we want to find out. But remember, importing the route is one thing. You can, of course, in the FMC CDU, enter the route from scratch. You don't have to import it like this. Okay, just makes it convenient, especially if the route is very long. For such a short route, it's actually nearly quicker just to type in the waypoints yourself, which we did with yours yesterday, if you remember. Okay, so that's the end of the flight planning bit. I'm going to close SimBrief downloader, and I'm going to get the aircraft fired up now, and I'll see you on the ground in a bit. Okay, so we're now at Liverpool in our 737-600. So I'm going to press ready to fly, takes into the flight deck. My aircraft starts in the ready to go state, because that's realistically what a flight crew would see when they get into an aircraft. But what we're going to do, we're just going to change it now to cold and dark. So panel state load, cold and dark, execute, and there it goes. It's all now completely shut down. So let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We'll do Control Z a couple of times just to get rid of it from the screen. Put real weather on. Okay, live weather. Okay, that's all sorted. So let's have a look. What have we got? We've got door and door open and stair is present. And let's go back into the cockpit and let's fire it up. Okay, so at the top we've got battery, that goes on. Standby emergency power, emergency lighting, that goes on. Then we can do fuel pumps, 3, 4. Then we get the APU fired up. There we go. So we will wait for the APU to fire up. What a fantastic aircraft it is. Really good. We've got a heads-up guidance system installed on this one, and we've even got the little windows at the top, which I quite like. I like them. Make it look purposeful. So how's that APU going? Let's have a look. Oh, it's just firing up now. Watched cattle never boils. So we're going to fly at flight level 320 today. So there we go. APU generators are online, and let's switch them on. Okay, so they're now running. So we go to the top and we do the IRSs. Do Shift 6 to get the overhead view. We do the yaw damper. We get the air panel sorted out, so we want to put one bleed on. Goes to auto. The isolation valve is open. The APU bleed, so we're getting the air from the APU. And we switch the engine bleeds off, we don't need those. And we can see the air pressure is rising, that's what we want. We do the cruise altitude, 32,000. Pressurization panel, 32,000, come on, there we go. And the landing altitude, if you remember, was 500. There we go. Put the safety belts on. Okay. And I think we're okay there. So we've got the position lights are on. I think we're all good. Okay, so press F to go back to normal view. Switch off the master caution. And let's have a look now at our CDU. First things first, we want to go into FS actions. Fuel, and I'll just bring back my sim brief for a sec. So block fuel 4,700 I'm going to use. Okay. So clear the error. So 4700. That goes into left 1. Okay, that's the fuel set. I return. Go to payload. Let's get the zero fuel weight. That's 46.9. So 46.9. That goes into right 2 for zero fuel weight. Okay, so that's the weight, fuel and payload sorted out. Now we can go back to menu, back to the FMC, and then we go straight to the POS init. And we need to put our position in. So lots of ways of doing this. You can actually type your position in, or you can enter your airport code, Golf Papa, put it there, and it comes up with the position of the airport, so we can copy that, paste it in there, or we can just copy the GPS position, which is what we're going to do now. There we go. And we're going to put that into right 4. Okay, so that's position sorted out. Now we go to route. And what we're going to do is we're going to clear this from the bottom. Go to flight plan request, PMDG B737, and we're going to do the top one, Liverpool to Cork. Select flight plan request, and it'll come up with load. At some point, there we go, load. Okay, and it's uploading, and if I go to the legs page, once the legs appear, we know it's finished its job. There we go. Activate. Sorted. Okay, so back to the route page. We can put a flight plan in. We're at Jet 2, which is Juliet Sierra Yankee. My number with the flight Southwest Flight Sim Group is 995. So 995, and it goes there. Flight number. We do departure and arrival. So we do left 1 for Liverpool departures, and we know that we're on runway 09, and we need to choose the departure, the standard instrument departure. So let's just have a look now. We've got Sky Vector done, Sim Brief done, Navigraph charts. There we go. So again, we've got our world map screen, a bit like Sky Vector. Let's go to the high airways. I'm going to do flight, new flight, and it says, do you want to do it manually, from a file, or from Sim Brief? So we're going to do from Sim Brief, and it says your current flight is Liverpool Cork. Click on that, and it brings it in. So we've got the route as from Sim Brief, no departure information, and it's got the arrival star, standard arrival, STAR. Okay, so let's look at the arrival first of all. It takes us from Tismo to Barnu, and we want to do an approach now from Barnu into the runway. So we click on approaches. This is the destination. Click on approach, and it offers us the appropriate approach. Okay, we can do an RNAV or an ILS. We're going to do the ILS. There you go, got the ILS. And if I click on this here for the star, gives us the chart. And I can pin that chart. It comes up here on the screen, so I can easily go back to it and close it down. Click on the approach. I'm going to ask it to show me the chart, show chart, or click on this, same thing, and I'm again going to pin it. There it is. And let's look now at the departure. So we can do there we go. So we can do the runway. So we choose 09, or it's already selected, and then we can do departure. So we can choose. Wow, there's quite a few to choose from. So let's have a look at where they go. We want to fly to the southwest, Cork. So we do this little symbol here, I, to see all the different departures for runway 09. And we can see that the obvious one is the Rexa 2 Victor. So what we do is we click on it and do add to route. There it is. Okay, so it's just popped it in and completed the route for us. If I close this and this, there we go. There's the departure. Let's get the chart for this as well. So click on that, show chart, and we're going to pin it, and it's there now. Okay. Okay, so there we go. There's our route in Navigraph. Okay, so we've got the Rexa 2 Victor from 09. I'm going to move the chart away. Let's have a look. So 09 Rexa 2 Victor, click on that, execute. Back to index. Cork arrivals, right 2. We want I've forgotten what it was called, so I'm just going to look at the other screen. TISMA 1 Romeo. Just scroll down a bit. TISMA 1 Romeo. And we want the ILS runway 16. And we don't want the transition. That's fine. That's what we want. Press execute. And now we do legs page. And we scroll down and look at and get rid of the discontinuity. So there's one after Wrexham. We do next page, pick up Semu, go back a page, paste Semu in. Execute. Let's go down a bit more. And I don't think there are any more discontinuities, but if there were, you would get rid of them in the same way. Notice it's got no altitudes here. It's just got the altitudes as defined by the actual arrival procedure. 8,000 feet or above, 6,000 feet or above, 3,000 feet or above at 220 knots. And the next one is 3,000 feet. Okay, so that will be our when we come to put our descent altitude in, we would select 3,000. Okay, so we've got the route in, we're happy with that. Let's do the rest of the initialization. Init ref, double click 0 fuel weight, reserves, well we can look that up, we can go to SimBrief, scroll down the page, get to the plan, and it says here on the planned fuel, the final reserve is 952. Okay, let's put 1,000 in, let's put 1,000 kilos, the short flight. 1, cost index, I use 55, but you can put pretty much any number in. It's telling us the highest we can go, the optimal will be 353, but we're going from west to east. Let me just show you that. So we're flying from east to west, and that means that we're flying an even flight level. Okay, so we can select 320, 340, 360, 36 might be a little bit high, or 300 in fact. So let's do 320. That goes in. And we're going to put transition altitude in, 5,000. Okay, and now we're going to do execute. Sorted. Okay, so let's get the takeoff performance calculator running. So Boeing Utopia, there it is. Okay, so we got a gross weight shown on the init page, the perf init page, GW gross weight, and that is 51.7, 51,700. Okay, so let's select in Utopia 737-600, the ICAO code EGGP. It's come up with the right runway already, or we could select 27, but 09 is what we want. Weather data. Now because FSU IPC is running on my system, I can just press this button and it'll bring in the weather. Or if you wanted to, you can just put your cursor over the airport and look at the details that you need here. The wind, the pressure, which is 1007, the wind is 106 knots, and temperature was 23. Okay, so I'm going to press this button, okay, and it's brought in all that data. Okay, now I'm going to put in the weight, which is 51,700. 51,700. Press the button here, and it says flap 5, take off 22,000 pounds of thrust, 66 degrees of assumed temperature. A bit like a flex, do you remember? Okay, minimize that. N1 limit. 66 goes here, which is the selected assumed temperature. Okay, and we're running it at 22,000 pounds of thrust. Okay, because that's what that program told us to do. And we're just going to move to climb thrust, because we like, because fuel is cheap in the simulator, we like that. Takeoff. Flap 5, according to Utopia. COG, click once, click twice, 4.8. And now the V speeds 1, 2 and 3. And they will be marked here. You see them just here. Okay, and as you accelerate, these will come down, and you read them when they get to this point here. You can say V1, rotate, V2. Okay, so we've done the CDU. Go to legs page. Go over here. Let's do some FS actions. Okay, so I'm going to put my parking brake on. So press my brakes. There we go. The parking brake is on. I'm going to do my trim. It was 4.8. Okay, that looks about right there. Okay. And what we're going to do is ground services, wheel chocks removed, return, doors. Oh, they're closing. Okay, so if I go external view very quickly, I think the stairs will move away. I think. Yep, there they go. Alright. Okay, so we need to get the MCP sorted out. So the mark speed, we go to init ref, 1 takeoff. V2 is 125. We add 10. Some people add 20, some people add 5, some people keep it there. I like to add 10. So 135 for the speed. The runway heading is 09. And we're going to go straight up to cruise 320. Remember, the aircraft though will level out at 4,000, and I'll just show you that on the chart very quickly. Navigraph charts. Here's the departure. Okay, so takeoff runway 09, easterly direction, right turn out on a radial of 225 from the pole beacon. And here it says at this point here we need to be between 3,500 and 4,000 feet. This point we need to be at 4,000 feet, and then it'll start to climb again to Ratsam. Okay, and you were asking me about airport charts. Let me show you those now. So Echo Golf Papa Papa, that's Liverpool. Open chart list, and we can do airport. I think this is the layout. There it is. There's the layout. We can pin it, and then we can go to Cork open charts list, taxi, and we want airport. There we go. That's what we want. So we'll pin those. So very simply, let's just get the Liverpool chart. There it is. If I press this button here, it shows us where we are. There we go. On that stand, and the arrow is obviously the direction we're facing. So runway 09. So we'll taxi out onto Alpha. That's Alpha there. Taxi out to Alpha. Go down here. This is what we did. This is what we did yesterday here, and line up for takeoff. So they would say taxi holding point runway 09 via Alpha, hold at Charlie. So Alpha is this grey taxiway here, and there's Charlie. That's a hold. We can't cross a hold without clearance. Okay, so I'm going to just, actually I'll leave that running. I'm just going to go back to the sim. There we go. So, got a master caution. Let's get rid of the master caution. The MCP panel's sorted. Let's do the flight directors. Mine first, FO second. Let's arm VNAV and LNAV. Let's go to the top panel. We're pretty much ready for a pushback. So we're just going to put the anti-collision light on to tell people that we're going to be starting the engines and pushing back, moving. So pushback, pre-plan. When we get the window, we'll zoom out a couple of times, but then don't zoom out anymore because you tend to lose your little icon. It's free, who cares? So zoom out once, zoom out twice. I'm going to go to here on that yellow line as best as I can, like that. That looks good to me. Press click, left click, then enter. Okay, so we can do request pushback.
Cockpit to ground.
And they're talking to me.
This is ground. Stand by.
Okie dokie. So while they're getting us ready for that, we can get the air panel sorted out because we're going to need the air panel for the engine start. So we got a pack on at the moment, so I'm going to switch the pack off. Okay. And that gives us more air ready for supplying the engines to start. Okay.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
So we're lifting now.
Parking
So
brakes set.
I'm going to put my
Lifting aircraft.
transponder code in. So my favourite one, 2, 5,
We are cleared for
2,
start and push.
6.
Okay.
Onto Tara.
Push start. Please release parking brake.
It's asking me to release my parking brake, so I just press my 2. There we go. Parking brakes
are
released.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
And what
You
I'm
will
going to
start
do
in the
now
sequence.
is I'm going to press this button here. So I get all the engine instruments showing here. Much easier to reference for me. And we're going to start number 2. Okay, so number 2 should be spooling up. There it goes. N2 is rising. I'm going to go to the barrow, the EFIS panel barrow, change it from inches to hectopascals. But before I do that, let's just get the fuel on. 24, there's fuel. Fuel coming on. So we've got fuel flow coming up. There we go. EGT, so we've got light up. There we go, it's getting hotter. And the big fan is turning as well. So looks like it's going to be a good start on number 2. And the barrow, let's just press B so we get the right pressure setting. There we go, 1008. Okay, so that's sorted. Get rid of master caution. Okay, and the engine started. The starter's now gone back to off. Start number 1. So go to ground.
Okay, pushback completed.
Oh, it wants the
Please set your
parking brake. So parking brake coming on. Holding my brakes. Clicking the lever. There we go.
Parking brake set.
Parking
So
brake set. Lowering
number
aircraft.
1 is spooling up. 15, 17, 18. Get to 24.
Ground. You may disconnect.
Okay, sir.
24,
Cleared
there
to
we go.
disconnect.
And put
Pin has
number
been removed.
1 on.
See you at the side. Have a good flight.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, so fuel flow, EGT rising, big fan turning. We're all good. Okay, so we're on the doors page on the second FMC. We'll go to the progress page. Oh no, we've got to go to the FMC and then we've got to go to the progress page. There we go. On this screen here I'm going to put the controls. So it's the MFD multifunction display or the ECAM displays. We go to system, that shows us here hydraulic pressure, brake pressure and control movement. If I move my yoke moving. Oh no, I've got to put the hydraulics on first. So engines are running, so we can do hydraulic pressure. If I move my yoke now, I hope it's working. Doesn't seem like it is. There we go. Yeah. So it obviously doesn't move when it's in lower position. Okay. Right, so if I move my yoke, you can see that the controls are moving backwards and forwards. Okay, so then we can do engines can go to continuous. We're going to put the window and probe heats on. Okay, we're going to get the air panel sorted out so the packs can go on, the crossbead can come off, and then reverse the positions of these. There we go. And we just do a quick check to make sure that everything else is in the right position, which it is. So the engines are online, the generators are online, switch them on. 2 APU generator is still online but not being used, switch it off. There it is. Okay, so we can do our taxi turn off lights and our taxi light, our runway turn off lights and our taxi light, get rid of the pushback, and we can get the rest of the aircraft configured. So flap 5, 1, 2, 3, there's flap 5. We'll just check. Flap 1, flap 2, and it should carry on through to 5. Okay. We can look at the EFIS panel, range ring, move it to 5 or 10, press the middle to get traffic rings so we can see other traffic. Okay, so we've got lights on, we can start to taxi. So, parking brake coming off, just giving it a little bit of power, not very much, just a little bit of power just to get moving. There it goes. Okay, and we're going to follow this yellow path here to our left shortly. There we go. Oh, I don't know if that is a proper way onto the taxiway. I don't know. It looks... well, I don't know. I'm just going to go through this. Obviously don't do as I do, break all the rules. I'm going to turn right here, just check for traffic, it's all clear. Okay. Lovely. So, if you remember, to check the takeoff config, we just blip the throttles forward. Just very, very briefly. So let's do that now, while we're in the taxiway. Notice how I get the position, so I can see the taxiway and the throttles and all the gubbins in between. So, throttles coming forward, blipping forward, nothing, we're all good. No warning horn. Okay. Okay, so if I bring the map across, you'll see that we're just approaching Delta. Our instructions were to go hold Charlie. So we're going to go to Charlie. Keep going. Okay, so go left here. Okay, and we would normally come to a stop, but the tower has said Jet 2995 line up runway 09, so we just check to see there's nothing coming. Okay, so we line up in 09. Okay, and just get that nose straightened out so it's down the centre line. Okay, lovely. Come to a stop. Okay. So, final bits, we need to get the auto throttle armed. We're going to do the landing lights. We're going to put our strobe light on, which is the position light clicked upwards. Okay, because it's two positions. So now we've got strobe, position light, we've got all the nose lights on, turn off lights, taxi lights, and all the landing lights are on. Okay, we've got auto throttle armed, we've got the flight director switched on. We can start the clock. Okay, get a nice view so I can see primary flight display for my speeds and the flight directors when they come on. See my engine instruments, and there's my click spot just to remind you. Okay, so feet are off the brakes, just giving it a little bit of welly. Okay, bringing it up to about 40 or 50%. The engines are stable, and click the button. There we go. I've clicked the button. Look at my throttles, they're moving on their own now. See that? They're moving all the way to takeoff position. I've just whacked mine all the way forward. Okay, just trying to keep the centre line of the runway.
80 knots.
80 knots. So speed alive, 80 knots, cross-checked. V1 rotate. There we go. V2. Keeping those crosshairs in the middle. Positive rate of climb, gears coming up. So just keeping those crosshairs in the middle here. Okay. There we go. That's good. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the autopilot on. I can hand fly it. I'm just going to let the autopilot do the work. So autopilot coming on. Okay, so when we get to about, I've forgotten what it is, 16, 17, 1800 feet, it'll transition to climb. So you'll get an increase in power. There it is. Because we've gone for full climb power. The aircraft will accelerate. We've gone past one flap setting, so flap can come to 2. Flaps coming from 5 to 2. And then we can do flap 1 very, very soon. Flap 1, speed checked. Flap 1. There he is, going from 2 to 1 now. This is like a pocket rocket, this thing. And flaps up now. So flap coming up. Right, so flaps are up. Okay, lovely. So we're going to zoom out on the nav display a little bit so we can see a bit more information. There we go, that'll do. And we're going to do a bit of housekeeping. So at the top, all the nose lights can go off. There we go. And we'll just do a quick double check on the state of the panel. Everything's fine. There's no orange warning lights or anything like that, so we're all good. So the engines are in continuous thrust at the moment, continuous ignition at the moment, but we're going to keep it there until we get to 10,000. Landing gear is up, so we switch it off. There we go. I forgot the auto brake, so minus 10 marks for me. That should have gone to RTO. So that's what happens if you don't follow a checklist. Okay, so we're all good. We're 250 knots, which is the speed limit below 10,000. We're level at 4,000 because that's the star which I showed you earlier. So let's go to the star, the Wrexham. Yeah, of course it's not working now, is it? Right, I'm just going to refresh this. Give it a second. Okay, Wrexham to Victor, I think it was. To Victor. There it is. Coming up to this point here. So we're all good. When it gets past this point, we'll start to climb. These are distances between the two legs. That's 5.6 miles. This is 6 miles. All good. Okay, so let's take that out off the screen. Go back to this. There we go. And we're being jumped around a little bit, aren't we? Ooh. That's because the sun is heating up all the air, and that hot air is rising. So we're getting a lot of what's called thermal activity. Convective weather. Okay, so a bit uncomfortable in the back, I should imagine. So we would probably ask for a climb to get out of the bumpy air, but we're coming up to the point where the aircraft will climb anyway, so we might as well just stick with it. If it's bumpy, turbulent air, the pilots do ask ATC if they can change altitude, because you want to give the passengers a more comfortable ride, but also the cabin crew having to work in bumpy conditions is not easy, nor is it very safe. So they will try and get a climb. So there we go. We're just past that point. The engines are spooling up, and we're starting to climb. Okay. Okay, and the speed is rising, but that will bring it. It will bring it back to 250 knots. It's so powerful. It's actually having trouble doing that. Love it. Love it. 5,000 feet per minute. Alright, so my QNH has come on yellow, which means I need to change it to standard. There we go. 6,000 feet per minute. My goodness me, this is a rocket. Absolutely love it. 8,000, we've just got to Wrexham. Let's zoom out a little bit more. The map doesn't really tell you anything unless you've got a few waypoints on there. So let's get a waypoint. There we go, we've got Semu. Let's go to 80 actually. There we go. So Semu, we've got the top of climb there. TC means top of climb. Okay. So not much to do now. We're past 10,000 feet. So landing lights can come off. Seat belts can be switched off. And because we're above 10,000 feet, just checking the pressurization, and that's all good. So it's a positive indication here, which means the cabin pressure is increasing. So we're all good. Okay. All good. So what I'll do now, I'll just wait till we get to the cruise portion, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're just approaching the top of the climb. We're just climbing out of Cardigan Bay down there. Absolutely, look at that. It just looks so real. It's untrue. Okay, let's get back in the cockpit. Okay, and this approaching flight level 320. I did forget to switch the engine ignition to off, so should do that at 10,000 feet. There you go, they're now off. And we're all good, so we can start to plan our approach. Because what we do need to do though is to see where our top of descent is. So let's just zoom out to 160. So top of descent is about, that's 80 miles, about 80 miles away, which won't take that long. Okay, especially if we use the accelerated time function. So let's do that. So down to menu, down to FS actions, auto cruise, and we do sim rate. Let's go to 2 times. Notice there's a pause at top of descent as well in case you wanted to start your flight, go to work and come back to land. It will be ready for you at top of descent. Okay, so we've got accelerated flight. We've got a little bit of traffic ahead of us. Hopefully it won't get in the way. I don't want to take avoiding action. It's just the whole point of it, which makes me laugh a little bit. So we've got accelerated time. That's in yellow. It was in red yesterday. Maybe it goes red when you've got 4 times the speed going. Who knows? Okay, so let's look at the approach plate. That's the first place to look for your information. So we've got the Tismo 1 Romeo arrival, and that takes us from Tismo above flight level 8,000 feet, to Givol above 6,000, to Barnu max speed 220, to Roval at 3,000. So the airplane will manage these very happily. So what we're going to do, because Roval is where the ILS kicks in, 3,000 feet, that's what we dial into our MCP altitude. Remember, MCP is the autopilot, that's the one at the top of the screen. So let's go to that, up here, and we're going to dial in 3,000. You wouldn't normally do this unless you're getting close to your top of descent. But I figure it's okay here because we've got stuff to do. 3,000. And VNAV is still on, so we're going to leave it like that. We're all good. Let's look at the approach then. So, the ILS approach, we've got to do the frequency if you remember. Okay. But I'm not sure whether this aircraft dials that in automatically or not. I don't think it does. So 1099 and the course 164. 1099 course 164. So where would you get that data from? Well, that's a bit hard if we haven't got it on the if you haven't got Navigraph. Yeah, so 1099. So we've got to go down to the radio, dial it into the nav radio here, 109. Decimal 90, 1099, flip it across, transfer the frequency, so it's now active, and the approach course was 164, so I'll dial that in here. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in a bit on the nav display. There we go. So we're now about 20 miles from our top of descent. We're still on accelerated time. And what we've got to do is go back to the MCP, go to our legs page. Okay. On the progress page, which is on the second FMC, we've got 20 miles to run to the top of descent. On ours, let's go to the init ref page, which is the approach speed and flap selection. And as I said, flap 30 is quite normal for a 737. You could do a flap 40, but they're actually quite unusual to do. So flap 30, 122 is the approach speed. So we select that, and we put it into right 4. Okay, and it's telling us that drag will be needed, and yeah, well, after we get to Barnu, it might be going too fast, so we'll be on top of the airplane. We'll slow it down, don't worry. Okay, just going to get rid of that message, press clear. That speed has come up on my primary flight display, flaps 30, 122. So we're going to look to do the approach at 127, which is that plus 5. If it's very windy or gusty, we would change the speed accordingly. Whoa, we're really getting tossed around here, and we're just getting ready to descend. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to switch off the accelerated auto cruise. That can go to reset. There we go. Back to legs page. And now we're at top of descent. You can see we've got our descent markers here and here. That little green dot in the Airbus, here you've got a little magenta coloured triangle, and that needs to be here in the middle, which means that you're on profile. Same indication here. Okay, so down we go, and VNAV, the aircraft, is managing the speed for us. And if we go to the FMC, the descent page, or climb or cruise, whichever page you want, you can actually type in what your preferred speeds are. But I'm happy with the default, no need to change that. The aircraft manages it very well. But what we do need to do on the descent page is go to forecast and type in 6,000, which was the transition level in Ireland. So that goes into left 1. Okay, and we could request the winds because we've got the wind data. I'm really not fussed about that. Okay. So in fact, in the SimBrief downloader, do you need the weather? Yeah, I guess you should, but as you can see, you can fly it quite happily without. Okay, so we're going to use auto brake 2, so let's set the auto brake. That goes to number 2. Okay. And yeah, we're all good. So what can we see out the window? We should see the coast of Ireland. Oh, it's a bit cloudy over there, look. Clouds? I haven't seen those for a while. Okay, all good. Just wondering whether we should do accelerated time. If we go to the init page, I think it actually does tell you the... Yeah, there you go. You see, look, this is quite good for you without the nav data. This is the approach ref page. Okay, so if you go to index, you get position, performance, takeoff, approach. Let's go to approach. There we go. This is where you choose the speeds. So you've seen this page before. It tells us what our weight is at the moment, and it tells us the frequency here. Left 4 1099, course 164. So it's quite good. It gives you a reference there, but you do need to put that into the radio. Okay. So we're approaching Cork, so I can probably zoom out a little bit more. Zoom in. There we go. And you see here on the nav display, you've got the constraints shown. So there's Tismo saying flight level 80, or above. So the aircraft won't get there below flight level 80. All good. And remember, we're going to take over the speed, okay, for approach. Once the aircraft is more than capable of doing it itself, we're the pilots, we want to be in control. So to take the speed over, when it's in VNAV, it manages the speed itself. But we can keep it in VNAV and do our own speeds by pressing the speed intervention button. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to do that as we approach the end part of the arrival. We're still quite high, really, 17,000 feet up, so yeah, we're quite high. Ireland. Okay. All good. Okay, so we're just flight level 150. What you say to ATC is we're passing 157 for 3000, and you pronounce 3 as tree 3000. There's a whole way of speaking in ATC and aviation language. So what we're going to do now, 15,000, we're going to strap them in. Sorry guys, no more toilet. Okay, so they're all strapped in. And remember, at 10,000 feet it will slow down to 250 knots. It really is a masterpiece, this aircraft. It really, really is. Done an amazing job, haven't they? There'll be lots of tutorials online about this, and the weather radar will be working, I hope, soon. They will do it. They will get there. They're just waiting a sober, of course they are. Okay, so passing 12.8 for 3000. Auto brake 2. Okie dokie, so 10,000 is the next, so we've done our descent checks really, so we need to do the approach checks at about 10,000. So it'll start to slow down before it gets to 10. It's quite bumpy today. That's FS Realistic doing its job. FS Realistic. Cabin ambience. Okay, so 10,300. It's now slowing down very gradually till it gets to 250 knots. Okay, so now 10,000, we put our landing lights on. We put our ignition to continuous. We can zoom in a bit more. And it's perfectly on profile. See that little magenta dot in this one here? It's exactly the same information. So we're on profile, 240 knots. Really fabulous. So what can we see? Okay, so it's 6,000. This will start to flash to tell us to change to the local pressure. But in fact, we're now descending to an altitude. Flight level is above the transition level. So it's a standard pressure that all aircraft are running on 1013, called standard. And because we're descending to an altitude 3,000 feet, which is on the local QNH, the local barometric pressure, we could actually put that on now. So I'm just going to bring in Sky Vector. I'm going to look at Cork, put my cursor over it, and if you read that line at the top, EICK, it goes on with the time. Zulu is Greenwich Mean Time. 338 is the wind. Then we've got few clouds at 2,700, broken at 25,000, temperature's 23, the dew point is 16, and the QNH 1009, and no sig means no significant change. So 1009. So what we can do is we can put that in now. So press standard, and we go to 1009 because we're descending to an altitude. Okay. Or we could just wait for it to flash again. Okay, so there we go. We're just approaching Givol on the standard arrival. 6,000 feet. I'm going to zoom out to 10. Zoom in to 10. It all happens really quickly. So we've got about 5 miles to slow down. So we're going to go speed intervention and start to slow the aircraft down. We're going to go to 210 on the speed, but what we're going to do, we're going to help it. We're going to put the spoilers out. So full spoiler. Okay. Just, we don't want to lose the profile too much, but we don't want to do this corner at high speed either, because it's more likely we'll not follow the path. And remember, the aircraft said it needs drag after Banu, so we need to slow down to help the aircraft. Okay, so we're at 210 knots. I can go flap 1 coming out. The landing flap, the flaps have got speed limits, and you'll see them written here. Flap 1 up to 250 knots, flap 2 again 250 knots, flap 5 again 250 knots, flap 10 210 knots. So we can actually go to flap 10, but we're not going to. Okay, so 5,000 feet. We've got the diamonds. See the diamonds here? We're just above the glide slope. There's the glide slope one. That's the localizer one. So we can press approach, and it's saying glide slope and VOR. So we're on the glide. I'm going to slow down now to 180. And just give it some speed brake to help it. So we've got approach mode activated. Oh, right, so I've got my spoiler out. There we go. Spoiler goes in, approach mode comes back. Or not. What's going on? Right, so flap 5. Reduce speed 160. feet. All looking good. So we're on the VOR, localizer and the glide slope. Don't know why the approach light's off, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's already established. We've got the diamonds there. If we look out the window, we should see the runway, and there it is down there. Okay, gear coming down. Flap 15. And we want our approach speed 127, if you remember. I'm going to dial in 127, which is the VREF 122 plus 5. Okay. Get a nice view, so you can see the engine instruments and your primary flight display. Okay. And look at that sight picture. Just so you get used to where the runway should be in relation to where you are. Okay, so the aircraft is slowing down. I'm going to arm my speed brake. It's armed. And I'm going to go flap 30 now. Okay, so autopilot can come off. Auto throttle can come off. Now notice I'm not moving my levers. I'm just going to make a mental note of where these needles are. Okay? Because when I do move my throttles now, I can just bring them back roughly to where they were. There you go. So 135 on the speed. We're a bit fast, so I should have bing bonged the cabin, but I'm assuming that my first officer will have done that. 130, 130, 129 now on the speed. Speed's looking good. We're quite bouncy today. Okay, we're just above the glide, just putting my nose down a little bit. Got the little diamonds down here, see them? We're just a little left of centre line. Okay, but it's all good. We've got tailwind today, which is why SimBrief offered the opposite runway. Okay, so now down we go. Okay, and over the threshold, usually about 50 feet. 50. There we go. Putting back on the power, holding the nose like that, holding it back, holding it back, letting it settle down, letting it settle down. There we go. And now into reverse. And I'm going to go manual braking, full reverse thrust. Okay, 50 knots, reversers can come off, and manual braking. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're not going to take that turning again, we're going to turn around. They've cleared us to backtrack. Jet 2 995, clear backtrack, active. Backtrack means that you can drive up and down the runway to position yourself. Okay, so let's get a bit of taxi speed going. Okay, so as we're doing that, we can put our flaps up. The flaps coming up all the way up. We can put our speed brake in because the speed brake was armed, so it's now fully deployed. So let's put the speed brake back. Okay, and now we can I didn't do the lights, did I? Silly me. Okay, my APU can come on. There we go. So we can fire up the APU. So when we get to the gate... Oh, what's that alarm doing over there? And we can switch off the water brake. Okay, so we'll take the next turn off. And somebody's done a nice job with that terminal, it looks really good. I'm planning a few flights for us to do in northern Spain. Very, very lovely area. Okay, so I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to take this turn off here. Just going to slow down. There we go. And notice I'm keeping on that yellow line. It's pretty important, really. Okay. That big aeroplane seems to be taking up a lot of room. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to its right. So we're going to go and park right hand side of the so we're just going to keep that yellow line. See that yellow line just approaching here? Just going to keep that on our nose wheel like that. And now we're going to follow this yellow line here into that parking bay there. And taxiing is pretty important, okay? So we're aiming at people now, the big ground crew there. So switch the lights off, we don't want to blind them. APU generator is on, so we can switch it on now. Okay. And we're just crawling in now on idle thrust. Residual thrust. That's all it needs. And if that yellow line sort of joins where between these two knobs here, I know that I'm pretty much on the line. Okay, and about now would be a good time to stop. Nice gentle stop. Holding my pedals in, put the park brake on. Okay, APU is already running, lights are off, engine 2 off, engine 1 off. Seat belts off. Okay. And there we go. So I stopped a bit early and a bit left of the line, but heck, that'll do me. There we go. Welcome to Cork. Hope that was useful, and looking forward to our next flight. Alright, take care.